Hi everyone, and welcome back to my Simple SolidWorks series, Part 2. In this video, we're going to be expanding your knowledge and experience with SolidWorks by CADing this CS socket, which is a file that has been released by GrabCAD Online. Let's get started. Open up SolidWorks and create a new part by clicking on this little page icon near the top left. Once your part's open, make sure that you change the units. You never want to design a part using the wrong units because most of the time it means you have to start all over. So if we go to our drawing, you can actually see that it says all dimensions are in millimeters. And the way that you can change dimensions really fast in SolidWorks is coming down to this bottom right where it says custom. If you click on it, you can select a new unit system. So I'm going to select MMGS because that's in millimeters. And now let's take a closer look at this part. This is the top view, this is the front view, and this is our side view. And so looking at this, it's always good to kind of come up with a strategy as to how you're going to actually make this part in SolidWorks. What we're going to do is create this base here. We're going to extrude it, and then we're going to extrude this upper portion of the part and then make some cuts on the side. So the way we do that is we make sure we're on our Features tab up here. We click on Extruded Boss Base. I'm going to draw this on my top plane, so select that. And now we're opening in an extrusion sketch. Now, the shape of this is basically a rectangle with an arc here at the bottom. And that's really easy to make. So you can come up here to your drawing tools. I'm going to select Center Rectangle. If you click on it, click once on the origin, drag it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is just I'm going to make mine smaller. This is just a way to get everything down. And then come up here to your arc tool, select 3-point arc. I've found that's the easiest one to use. You're probably going to use that one the most as you progress through SolidWorks. You click once here in this corner, come over, click again, pull out, and you can actually lock it to be a perfect semicircle here. Now, SolidWorks is only seeing this as a closed shape, which is not what we want. We want the entire thing to be shaded. So what you're going to do is click on this bottom line here, right click on it, and then click on this icon, Construction Geometry. And what that does is now SolidWorks can recognize that these solid blue lines are the border. We go back to our drawing, and it looks like this piece is 76 across, 82 millimeters tall, and the arc has a radius of 38 millimeters. What we can do is go back to SolidWorks, click on our Smart Dimension tool. Up here, it's going to be 76. This side here is going to be 82. And a radius of 38. Now actually, you don't even have to put the radius. The neat thing about this arc is insane that this line is 76 millimeters long. The fact that this arc is a perfect semicircle means that this diameter here is also 76 millimeters, that this is also 76 millimeters across, which means that your radius is going to be that 38. So now we can exit our sketch, and SolidWorks is going to project an extrusion. And the way that we know how much to extrude is we can actually look at this front view on the drawing, and it looks like this is the base right here, this bottom portion, and it is 18 millimeters tall. If we go back to our drawing, we change the distance here to 18. Hit enter, you'll notice it went up a bit, and now we can hit our check. And there we go. We got the first part done. Now we need to extrude this upper portion. The easiest way to do this is to start an extrusion on the top plane of our base, which is this plane right here. What we're going to do is go up to Features, Extruded Boss Base, click here on the top. I'm going to change the way that I'm looking at this part, so you can go up here to your view cube and change it to top view. So now all of our lines are going to be lined up nicely. We don't have to mess with any crazy angles. All right. Looking at this, you can tell that it's kind of like a hollow box with a rectangle coming out of it and intercepting this arc. So this actually isn't that hard to draw. What we're going to do is going to go up here, and instead of a center rectangle, we're going to use a corner rectangle. Click on this corner, drag out to just some distance, and then we're going to do that again, except this time inside. You probably get the gist of where I'm going with this. Now, it looks like this rectangle is 13 millimeters on its borders, and the gap here in the center is 38 millimeters. Let's get started with a little bit of it. We can click on these two lines and dimension them 13 millimeters. And we can do the same over here on another side. 13, oops, that is definitely not what I wanted. If you ever need to change a dimension, you can double left click it, go back in, type in your new number, and there you go. Solidworks will fix it. Now, what I could do is, you'll notice that these two lines here are blue. Blue means that they're undefined, so you'll notice I can actually change the shape, which is not something that you want. You want all of your lines to be black because that means that they're defined. So what I could do is I could go in with my dimension tool, add another one here, and add another one here, saying they're all 13. But personally, I try to avoid having any extra dimensions if I can help it. I don't like cluttering up all of my sketches because it makes it harder for me to interpret what's actually going on. So what I do is I can come up to one of these lines. If you right click it, you can select the midpoint. So you'll notice it's selected right there. Now if you hold shift, click on your origin, this little box will pop up and you can say make vertical. So what it's doing is it's vertically aligning these 2 points. So this origin and the center up here. And now for this part, you'll notice it can still move up and down. I don't want to align this on the origin because I don't know how long this is. You can see here, if these are the dimensions, the midpoint here shouldn't align with that. And so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to right click again here, select the midpoint. I'm going to hold shift and hover my mouse, and you'll notice the midpoint will actually highlight itself as a yellow dot. So I hold shift and click that, and I make these horizontal. If you look at this now, the dimensions change. So if we go back to our drawing, you'll notice that the width of this is 13 plus 38 plus 13. And we can define that by going to our smart dimension, defining this as 38. And then because these two have their midpoints centered horizontally, this is going to stay 13 and it'll adjust itself. All right, and finally, we need to sketch this last little portion here, this piece that's eventually going to turn into that little ramp at the front of the part. And so what we can do is actually going to delete this line and just do a rough sketch here. Going to drag out a line. Oops, it didn't want to do that apparently. Drag out a line, click, drag out another line, click. I'm going to kind of make this T shape. Click again, pull up, and connect it. There we go. All right. This shape is actually centered on the origin on the vertical axis. So what we can do is we can grab that midpoint, select Shift, click on our origin, and do what we did earlier, say make vertical. So now we have this going on. And then what we can do is we can click on one of these corner points. So I'm going to just click on the left. Then you hold Shift, click this arc here, and say make coincident. It's this third little icon on the top. So now you'll notice my lines still aren't defined, but I can do this. I can adjust them. Finally, let's go back to our drawing. It looks like from this front view that the little ramp piece here, this rectangle, is going to be 22 millimeters across. So we can go to our smart dimension. We can click these two lines and define them as 22. One thing you'll notice is that this line is black and this line is blue, which means that I can do this. This isn't what I want. And so we're going to align stuff again. We're going to click on this little point here on the corner, hold Shift, click on this point, and make horizontal. Now you'll notice all the lines are black, but we're missing one last piece. If you look at the drawing again, this rectangle actually has a curved edge that goes along with this arc, and ours does not. What we're going to do is right click on this bottom line and just turn it into a construction piece. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go up to our arc tool, just going to click on these 2 points, drag out a random arc. Try not to let it lock on anything. And once you have that, we need to make this arc here match up with this arc here, lay on top of it, essentially. And what you can do is click on the one arc, hold Shift, click on the second, and then this first thing here, make co-radial. If you click on it, now they're basically laying on top of each other. And with that, this little section is over. So we're going to exit our sketch. Now you'll look at this extrusion. If we check our blueprint, it looks like, or sorry, our drawing, it looks like this piece up here is going to be extruded 72 minus the 18 millimeters for the base. And so Solidworks has that handy little math function where you can do 72 minus 18. Apparently that's 54. And hit check. And boom. So now you'll notice our part is actually looking really similar to what we've got over here. So all we have to do is cut these circles and make this piece here into a ramp. What we're going to do is we're going to go to our extruded cut tool up here, click on it, and instead of clicking on a side or face, you could do it and it would work. I personally like to go and use planes if I can. So because we centered our piece on the origin, you can take advantage of planes to draw certain cuts and things. And that's part of why I like to have all my pieces centered in some way, shape, or form on the origin, because then I can use those planes to my advantage. And it also makes it better if you end up assembling any pieces. But for this, we're going to select our right plane. You'll notice it's highlighted. And we're going to do our view cube and look at this thing from the side. So you'll notice this is our extrusion up here, this is our base, and this is the thing that we're going to cut into that ramp shape. So the first thing we need to do is grab a circle tool, and we're just going to draw a random circle here, just to put it down. Then we can go back to our drawing and grab some dimensions. So it looks like this circle, the center point, is 32 millimeters to the left of this right edge and 36 millimeters above the base. We can go to our smart dimension. Do these in order so I don't mix them up. Click on the center, click on the edge. Define this as 32. We're going to click on the center, click on the base line, and define this as, oops, that's a thing. We're going to Control Z that. Double click if you ever need to change your dimension. Change that to 36. That's much better. And finally, the diameter of this circle is 25 millimeters. So all you have to do is click on its edge, define that as 25. There we go. So that's our circle, and now what we have to do is we have to make this cut here. And you'll notice it's a triangle up here that's being cut out, and it looks like the point of the triangle hits this base and it hits the top of this piece, which makes our jobs a lot easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our line tool and we're going to click right here where the edge of this piece is. Let me realign that. Alright, so we're going to click on this little point and we're going to drag this line out. Make sure that it hits this line here on the left, but the height of it isn't too important right now. So you'll notice it's highlighting and locking onto this orange line, so I'm going to click that. And now we're going to go up till we hit a corner point, click again, and drag it out and connect it finally. Let's recenter this a bit. All right, back to our drawing. The end of this triangle, this lower left point, is looking like it's horizontally aligned with the top of the base that we made. And so what we can do is we can actually click on this entire line, select a point. We're going to grab this point right here. Click on it, make sure it's highlighted, hold Shift, and click on this little point right here. Go up to our little box and click Make Horizontal, and boom, just like that. All three lines of this triangle are black. That means they're all defined. You don't have to worry about them moving. The circle is defined, and so we can exit our sketch. So you won't really see anything happening, and this is because I drew this on a middle plane, but the holes need to go both ways. And what we can do is change the direction over here on the left from blind, where it'll just go in one way, to through all, both, or you could use mid-plane, but for this, through all, both gets the job done. You don't even have to do a dimension. It's just going to cut through however much material is on either side of the part. And with that, you can hit check, and there you have it. This is a CS socket, and I hope it was a good practice opportunity for you to continue developing your skill in Solidworks.